I am so honored to be your keynote for tonight. And having been to a lot of different galas, wedding receptions, I'm glad that I'm not the one between you and your dinner. So please enjoy your meal. I'm just going to be your mealtime entertainment. But if I may ask, if you could keep your chatter just a little bit lower, because I might get a little distracted from my thoughts if I hear a lot of background noise. So just asking if you could do that as a favor to me. So, like Pauline said, it's been a long journey for me. And I actually kept a really painful secret for 20 years, and it nearly killed me. Shortly after this picture was taken in the year 2000, our entire world turned upside down. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder in my second year of university. And I was in a very demanding engineering program where failure was not an option. It all started with me feeling really, really tired and not being able to get up in the morning for classes, to having really severe suicidal ideation where dying actually felt like such a relief. And at this point, I should mention that please exercise self-care. If there's anything that I'm saying that's making you uncomfortable, please feel free to exit the room, and I will not be offended in the least. And one day I remember in my university library, I had to lie on the bathroom floor because I couldn't breathe. And my heart was pumping so hard that I thought it was just gonna jump out of my chest. I didn't know it then, but I was having my very first panic attack. I went to see my doctor, and after several failed antidepressants, I was put on a medication called Paxil, which quickly triggered a hypomanic episode and some very unusual behaviors. I remember buying 10 pairs of designer jeans in one day, and I was vacuuming my entire apartment at 3 a.m., waking up all of my roommates. So eventually, I was checked into CAMH emergency, and I was kept in an area with all the urgent psychiatric cases. And I remember sitting beside a girl who was around my age, who was cutting herself, and her arms were just full of scars and bloody marks. I was really frightened, but I felt so bad for her. I was also worried that I was going to be stuck there forever. Luckily, I was able to see my doctor the same day and didn't have to stay there for very long. And he told me what my diagnosis was and explained that bipolar disorder, unfortunately, is an incurable illness. And I remember hearing that and seeing in slow motion a ceramic vase just falling and shattering into a million pieces. And I felt that my life was never going to be whole again. And my parents, in their efforts to protect me, urged me not to tell anyone. And I have to keep this a secret from all my good friends, even my roommates. And as many of you can relate, this is actually very common in the Asian culture. And my parents are doing the best job that they can without any support themselves in this really life-changing event. And I was a really good girl, and I listened, and I kept it a secret for 20 years. But I always resented the fact that this illness is going to limit, or has been limiting me for my entire life. And it wasn't until that I started to share openly about my truth of what was happening and why I was really struggling that I began to heal. And what was really interesting is how surprised people were when I told them. And I think it just goes to show how fake social media is and how much truth it hides. Also, how little we all know about each other's struggles behind the doors. So after 2 hospitalizations, 3 disability leaves from work, and over 30 different medication combinations, I stand before you, not cured, still not cured, but definitely thriving in my own way. Thank you. I always heard about people clapping during the keynote. I never experienced it. Thank you guys, you're so great. So for me, you might be wondering, well, how did that happen? How did you actually decide to share and defy your parents? So for me, it really wasn't a single moment. It was many different lessons and many different teachers along my healing journey that really led me to a place where I feel like I could truly embrace all of my invisible scars and love myself unconditionally. And I know you might think, tell me some secret sauce to that. And I have to say, there are so many, but the one that really made a big difference is by sharing. If I were to look back and think about something that I wish had happened differently, it would definitely be having access to culturally competent mental health services. As a side joke, my daughter has been hearing that word a lot during all the speeches, and she's counting how many times she's hearing culturally competent services. And I'm really happy that she is, because it is so important, so very, very important to have that, not just for me, but also for my parents, who were completely alone in this huge moment, knowing that their daughter has an incurable illness. It would have been amazing if they had a safe community of other Asians with shared cultural context to be able to connect and share their pains with, but they definitely never had that. Also, in the research and work that I've been doing with Dr. Gabor Mate, I have learned how important it is for people to understand ACEs, or adverse childhood experiences. You see here a really cute baby. Yep, that's me, very cute. Still cute, but not as cute. And that's me at around 6 months. And my parents told me that my grandparents could never get a photo of me smiling. And maybe, just maybe, the reason is not that I'm a grumpy person, but I was separated from my parents at 4 months old and reunited at 4 years old, because the Cultural Revolution separated my mom from her family, and it resulted in a cascading effect where I became separated from my parents so that they can pursue their careers while I'm being looked after by my parents. And I had no idea that could have made an impact 20 years later on the onset of bipolar disorder, until I met and started the trauma program with Dr. Gabor Mate and understood how validating it is to see that he actually was separated from his parents during the Holocaust for a month, and the impact that has had on him. And I have to tell you, it was one of the most validating, comforting experiences I've ever had. And I just thought, imagine if I could have had that healing earlier, when I could have met other Asians that could have had this experience too. So in a moment, I'm going to be sharing the stage with 4 amazing peer supporters. And they're going to share just a little piece of their journey with you as well. Because I'm definitely not the only one that deserves to be here to share our story. And I want to say that they're not here because anyone asked them to be here because we're at a fundraising gala. But they're here because they know that sharing is such a huge part of our own collective healing. And so I'll introduce them to you in just a moment. And some of you might wonder by now, like, Yollanda, Hong Fook has been around for 40 years. Why didn't you just come to Hong Fook? How many people were thinking that already in the room? Oh, like nobody? Seriously? Oh, thank you, that's great. So I planted that person there. So the reason I didn't know is because it wasn't until a year ago that my amazing friend and mentor, Zhang, who is here, was hosting a birthday fundraiser for Hong Fook, and I found out. I was like, oh, that's what they do. That's amazing. And that was only a year ago. So we really would be great for more people to know. So just switching gears a little bit, I want to share with you a love of mine, which is Katsuki, or joining with gold. So remember I told you the story about the ceramic vase falling when I felt my world was ending, knowing that I will have bipolar disorder forever. Katsuki is the art, the Japanese art for repairing broken ceramic with gold, where not only do you not throw away the broken ceramic, but you add to its strength and beauty with gold. And I think this is so representative for my own personal journey, but for many people's journeys. I bet we all have invisible scars that we hide because we think that they make us broken. But truly, with the right support system, we can be whole again, and even stronger and even more beautiful. You may have seen today a few people wearing this t-shirt with Beautifully Unbroken, which is my keynote title. And one of the reasons this has hit me so hard is because I always just thought that I'm going to be broken forever. But now, really, with the support system, I feel completely whole again. So this, oh, thank you. It's okay, just clap, I'm good, it's fine. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit difficult for me to share, but so as you can see, I got my hair done, I got my makeup done. I don't usually look like this. And Maggie, she's a really dear friend of mine and a former employee. And I met her 7 years ago when I went to a charity gala, like tonight, and she got me ready. And every single gala, media appearance, newspaper interview, whatever you have it, she would come to my house and get me ready. But she didn't today. And it might sound silly that I would be so sad about having a new makeup and hair person for my glam squad, but I was so sad because she died by suicide 6 months ago, and her family was so filled with emotions that they didn't share the news, so none of her friends were able to honor her life together And as a result, I sometimes still feel like she's around. And statistics say that suicide, the shock wave of suicide is between 50 to 200 people for every one person dying by suicide. And I can tell you that Maggie's death has created a shock wave in my life, in so many people's lives, like you wouldn't even imagine. So today, I appreciate the opportunity to speak here, not just for myself, but also on behalf of those who are suffering in silence. And Maggie's death is the reason that I am on a mission to destigmatize mental illness. I don't want her to have gone for no reason, and I sometimes think that she's going to be mad at me for sharing this publicly, but she's not here to hit me anyway, so. But I want her to show people how living with mental health challenges can really still do wonderful work and have very special talents. We just need the right support. And I want you to really consider supporting Hongfuk's amazing work and what they're doing to ensure Asians with mental health challenges get that culturally competent care that they need. And I would love for you to please give generously. And don't wait. Don't wait for someone in your life to get hurt or even die before you do something like I did. So I really want to urge you to consider that. Now, I want to show you something that I keep at my computer desk every day in my office. It's a little Katsuki vase. That's why I put a bigger one up there. It's a tiny one. And I want you to take a moment right now. Close your eyes, if you will, and think about some of your invisible scars that you are living with, and how much they have taught you in terms of life lessons. And maybe we can send a little gratitude to them. Because for me, like Pauline shared, bipolar disorder has been my best teacher, even though I've resented it for decades. And I'm sure we all have those teachers in our lives, and it's important that we acknowledge them and thank them. So I want to share that I am this vase, beautifully unbroken. We are all beautifully unbroken. Thank you. I would like now to invite up our amazing peer supporters, and I'm just going to interview them individually with a quick question for them to share. It's actually the same question that I'm going to ask each of them, and the question is, why did you choose to be a peer supporter for Hongfuk? And each one of them will be sharing in their own mother tongue, in their own languages, and there's going to be a translation of what they're sharing with all of you. So we're going to start with the bravest. They're all very brave, but we're going to start with Kim. And so Kim, why did you become a peer supporter?
Kính chào quý vị. Tôi cảm ơn Hồng Phúc đã cho tôi vinh dự được đến đây tối nay. Tôi rất biết ơn và hân hoan chào đón gặp gỡ tất cả những người ủng hộ Hồng Phúc. Tôi xin kể lại một chút về hành trình của tôi. Vào năm 1978, bệnh tâm thần phân liệt của tôi khởi phát trong lúc tôi đang du học tại Nhật Bản. Tôi nghe thấy những tiếng nói ảo giác nhưng lại không biết đó là bệnh tâm thần và đã không tìm cách điều trị. Cho đến năm 1981, gia đình chúng tôi may mắn được nhập cư vào Canada. Lúc đó, chúng tôi không thể quay trở về Việt Nam sau chiến tranh Việt Nam. Khoảng thời gian từ năm 1982 đến 2005, gia đình chúng tôi bắt đầu một cuộc sống mới ở Canada với 3 cháu nhỏ. Tuy nhiên, tôi vẫn tiếp tục có ảo giác, nghe thấy những tiếng nói trong đầu, nhưng vẫn không biết đó là dấu hiệu của bệnh tâm thần. Tôi rất trân trọng ngày tôi biết đến Hồng Phúc. Tôi đã tham gia chương trình phục hồi tích hợp, đại diện cho Hồng Phúc với tư cách là diễn giả của United Way. Khi tôi tìm hiểu về chương trình hỗ trợ đồng đẳng, tôi có thể cảm nhận được mối liên kết và sự tương quan giữa trải nghiệm bản thân với các người chia sẻ cùng cảnh ngộ. Thông qua hoạt động chia sẻ nhóm, chúng tôi học cách tiếp nhận sự giúp đón từ bên ngoài, xây dựng lại hy vọng và trân trọng hành trình hồi phục riêng của mọi người. Là những người chia sẻ cùng cảnh ngộ, tôi có thể dùng những kinh nghiệm của bản thân để giúp các bạn bè của mình trân trọng quá trình của họ hơn. Mọi người thường hỏi tôi hạnh phúc là gì? Câu trả lời của tôi luôn là hạnh phúc là hy vọng, hạnh phúc là hạnh phúc, hạnh phúc là tổ ấm. Sự thật là mỗi quý vị ở đây tối nay đã mang lại cho tôi hy vọng và góp sức cho con đường hạnh phúc của tôi. Tôi mong rằng mọi người sẽ hào phóng quyên góp cho hạnh phúc. Những đóng góp hôm nay của mọi người cũng là một cách thức để cho tôi có dịp trả ơn một phần sự giúp đỡ của hạnh phúc dành cho tôi và cho những người cùng cảnh ngộ với tôi. Thank you.
So, same question for Rita. Thank you so much, Kim, for that. Rita, why did you become a peer supporter?
안녕하세요. 저는 한인 커뮤니티 피어 서포터 노리타입니다. 2006년 처음 홈폭 서비스를 알게 되면서 저의 회복의 여정은 시작되었습니다. 에이션 클리닉에서 정신건강에 관련된 서비스를 받았고 주택 지원 서비스를 통해서 안정적인 주거지를 얻게 되었습니다. 다른 동료들과 함께하는 자조그룹에서는 제가 혼자가 아니라 공동체에서 건강한 삶을 경험할 수 있었습니다. 홈폭에서 제공한 다양한 교육과정을 거치면서 많은 걸 배웠고 저 같은 어려움을 겪는 많은 분들에게 제가 배우고 경험한 것을 나누며 도움이 되고자 피어 서포터가 되었습니다. 피어 서포터로서 정신건강 월커나 동료지지 월커와 함께 여러 프로그램을 공동 인도하며 다른 동료들의 회복을 위해서 협력하고 있습니다. 홈폭은 제가 어렵고 힘들었을 때 친가족처럼 저에게 도움을 줬고 위로해 주었고 기쁠 때 함께 기뻐해 줬습니다. 저에게 이런 기회를 주셔서 감사합니다. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. That was lovely. And it's okay. I messed up my speech too. There are many things I forgot to say. So you did great. Thank you so much. And Kitty, why did you want to become a peer supporter at Homebook?
好多謝康福嘅切合文化服務。我因為參加咗康福嘅廣東話朋輩支援小組，我可以用我嘅母語廣東話嚟分享我想分享嘅事情，可以表達到我嘅感受同埋情緒，有助舒緩，幫助我嘅康復。之後康福俾我機會成為朋輩支援領袖。我因為曾經受惠於康福呢啲復原學院嘅節目，所以我好珍惜呢一個朋輩支援領袖嘅位置，可以支援到其他嘅朋輩，希望有助佢哋嘅康復。而我自己成為朋輩支援領袖，俾到我嘅感覺就好似有一份工作， 亦都能夠接受訓練、參與設計課程，有滿足感同埋揾到自己嘅價值。好多謝康福 ，thank you。
Thank you so much. Last but not least, Zita, she's also the talented artist behind all of our crochet hearts and a lot of the items that are outside. So Zita, why did you become a peer supporter for Hong Folk?
谢谢你的提问，我先想要跟大家打个招呼 ，Hello， 大家好，我是 Zita。几年前我因为患癌还有忧郁症的缘故，我觉得自己变成一个没有价值，被社会抛弃的人。后来在康复，我很幸运可以接受到没有文化差异的服务，让我可以没有负担的去学习、去分享、去交流。后来我健康慢慢好了，又很感谢康复给我机会，也信任我，邀请我参加朋辈资源工作的培训，让我有机会回馈社会，成为一名朋辈资源者，然后又成为训练朋辈资源者的训练员。在当中，我看到朋辈他们的服务员有进步，我感觉很欣慰，而且找到了失去的信心，还有就是和别人可以重新连接的美好。作为一个病人，我能够深深的体验到，一个没有文化差异、没有语言障碍的支援服务是非常非常的重要，非常难得珍贵。我很幸运能成为其中一个提供这些服务的一员。我邀请大家鼎力支持康复，让我们可以继续提供优质的服务，帮助每一个有需要的同期都能够像我那样有机会看到服务员的希望。谢谢大家。
Thank you so much. I just want to take a moment to really acknowledge the four of you for being here and sharing your stories. It's not easy to do that, but you did it. Not just for yourself, but also to help many others who would be moved and impacted by your stories. So if I may ask our audience to give them another round of big applause for their courage and bravery.